off stump went. I sort of put my arm in the air like Alan Shearer. Like, what's happened here? Like, why am I signing papers where I'm on the front page? Barmy Army are having song battles with the South Africans. The whole crowd is on fire. It gives me the energy that I can just keep going. Regaining the Ashes at Trent Bridge for the first ever time. Home ground, all my family and friends there. Incredible day, but a lot went into that. And he said, well, I know you don't drink during test matches, but if there's ever a time, we've got to share a glass tonight, haven't we? And I was still in that daze of, no, I can't really believe that this has happened.
I'm Joss Butler, he's Stuart Broad, a man who took 604 test wickets, but I think it's most memorable for the spells that you bowled. So we're going to take a deep dive on some special spells from you, get your top three, and I'd love to hear from you, the listeners. What are Broady's best spells? What are the best spells you've ever seen live? And let us know in the comments.
That's a great idea. We want to hear the best spells you've ever seen live, the fifers, the tenfers, not just England bowlers, certainly not just me, literally the best spell you've ever seen.
Right, actually, club cricket specifically, if someone at your club has taken a tenfer, fiver, best spell you've ever seen, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, we've all got those bowlers at our clubs, that's all they ever talk about, their best spells, their fifers, their tenfers.
Yeah, exactly what we are going to get you to do right now. So the purpose of this episode is to get all the insights on your best spells. I've had a look at some, but I want to get you to rate your top three.
Gosh, okay. Top three spells. It wasn't a backhanded compliment, by the way, because
You're happy with that?
I actually did sort of design my mindset on changing momentum of games. So I think that was, I sort of aimed to do that a little bit. Top three, 8-15 against Australia has to be in there.
Number
2015.
One, or...
I'm actually going to put that at number 2, although it was my best ever figures.
Interesting.
Number 3, I'm going to put 2009 England-Australia at the Oval. It wasn't my first ever fifer, but it was the one that it made me think, okay, I can do this in Test match cricket. That was day 2. I think it was 5 for 30 something in one spell. And then number 1 is I got 6 for at Johannesburg, the Wanderers, the Bullring, South Africa, game on the line, Saturday afternoon. Crowd was pumping. I think that was the biggest momentum changer that I made because it was mid-test match. So I think that's number 1.
Okay, so we've now ranked the top three. So let's start with number 3, the Oval 2009. We've got your figures here, 12 overs, 1 maiden, 5 for 37. Talk to me about that spell, about the situation in the game. You were a young man there, only 21 tests at that point. So why is that such an important spell for you?
Yeah, so it was the final game of the 2009 Ashes series. I think it was 1-1 going into the Oval. And Freddie Flintoff had missed the test match before with an injury, but was retiring. This was going to be his last ever game. So he was definitely coming back in. The lead in, the build-up, I just didn't know if I was going to play. You've all had those times where you're training, but you're unsure whether you're going to be in the team. You don't quite know how to set yourself up for it. I'd done okay in the Ashes series at best. I got a 6 for at Headingley in a losing cause, but hadn't really stamped my authority on it. And I'm playing against Ponting, Watson, Hussey, Clark, Haddon, a beast of a batting lineup. And we batted first, got 300 odd on the board day 1, come into day 2, and the Aussies start great. I think it was Katic and Watson opening the batting, got to 70 for none at lunch, and I hadn't bowled. So they'd used, Strauss had used Jimmy, Anderson, Freddie Flintoff, Steve Harmison, maybe, I think I was the 4th seamer, Graham Swan was in the attack, but the 3 seamers had bowled, I hadn't. I remember walking off at lunch thinking, I'm not even needed here. Like, if I've not bowled at 70 for none as a strike bowler, when am I going to bowl? I got into the changing room and Straussy went, Broady, want you to start after lunch. I need you to bring me some energy. Just think wickets. I don't care. We're at that situation now. I don't care about runs. We need to break these partnerships, which was quite a nice clarity for me. And that whole lunch break, I sort of started thinking, okay, make sure I'm ready. Get a bit of a warm-up done before I go out. Don't eat too much. Make sure I've got all the energy in the world, hydrated, focused. Bring the energy. I want to lead this group after lunch. We got out and I bowled the Vauxhall end at the Oval, slightly up the hill. And I just, for the first time in my whole Test career, it was early on, I bowled just for wickets. didn't care about runs. And that sounds an odd thing to say because your job is to take wickets, but you have to free your mind up to not be scared to go for a 4 in Test match cricket. Because when you run in front of 30,000 people and you bowl a long half volley and Shane Watson whacks it for 4, that feeling is, ooh, oh no, everyone's just watched me go 4. Oh no, now what happens if he hits me for another 4? So there's a freedom to let go. And that was the first spell in Test match cricket I let go. I got the ball in my hand. I hit Watson early. I think that might have been my first ever celeb appeal. Actually, I just ran down, like knew it was out. And that gave me the confidence to go, do you know what? This pitch suits me a little bit of seam movement, tall bowler hitting the pitch, but it's not bouncing loads, so I can still hit the stumps. So Watson went first of all, and it was me and Swanee, Graham Swan, bowling together in tandem. So I was getting no rest. Swanee used to get through his overs really quickly, which was good because it didn't give me time to overthink. It just allowed me to get in that mindset of, okay, Ricky Ponting's in. What am I going to do to him? And my plan to Ponting was always try and bring him forward because he was so quick onto the short ball. I wanted to bring him forward and not drive down the ground, not that full, but drive through the covers. So I was able to push the ball up. I don't think I've ever actually said this because it looks like I bowled him a really nice cutter into the surface that jagged back and he chopped onto his stumps. I actually just landed really badly and I was too inexperienced, too young to know what I was doing really. And I landed badly. My front arm failed me and it came out as an off cutter and bowled him. But I ran off like, yeah. And everyone's like, great ball, great thinking. I'm like, yeah, great thinking, yeah. So Ponting was suddenly gone. I've got 2, Watson, Ponting. I'm starting to move a bit. The energy of the oval was a beautiful sunny day. That crowd there just starts getting going and gets behind you. And then Hussey came in, and the plan to Mike Hussey was always don't let him leave the ball. He just wants to, he gets in by leaving. He's played a lot at the Wacker where the ball in Perth, where the ball bounces. He leaves on length. Let's try and make him play every single ball. So I tried to start with in-swingers to him to make sure I hit the stumps. And I bowled this in-swinger. And I saw his hands going up to leave it, but I knew immediately that was the length that was going to hit the stumps. And his hands kept rising. I thought, he's leaving this. And then last second, he jammed his hands down, but it caught his pad before his bat. Dead, out, gone. So I just charge off running. Billy Bowden, I think it was, gave him out with the crooked finger. So suddenly I'm moving, I'm running. Swanee gets Katic the other end and we're flying. And now I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not necessarily thinking too much about plans. I'm just cruising through, know my stride pattern, hitting the pitch, holding the seam up straight and seeing what comes. And Strauss had done a bit of work on Michael Clarke, who was in next, about chipping the ball at cover. So we put Jonathan Trott, who was on debut, in at cover as a catching position, just as a bit of a, sometimes you put fielding positions in, not because the ball necessarily goes in the air there, but just to get in someone's eye line or for them to think, okay, I might not drive at this ball as much as I should. And we put Trotty there and Clarke just chipped it straight to him. Great feeling, not a good ball, swinging half volley, Luck's on my side. And then Brad Haddon came out. Hadn't really thought I'm on 4 or anything, I'm just in the flow. I'm going back to fine leg. Crowd had given me a big cheer. I'm giving them a big cheer. Back I go, ball in hand. And I bowled what I thought was quite a straight ball at him. But he sort of tried to hit me through mid-wicket and it hit the top of off. So it looks like a Dale Steyn Jaffa. I still think Hawkeye would show that didn't move, but I'll take it. Off stump went. I sort of put my arm in the air like Alan Shearer, 5 for 30 odd. First meaningful 5-for. And Freddie's last ever Test match. And when we were walking off, we'd bowled Australia out with a really good lead. So the Ashes wasn't done, but it was looking pretty good. We knew we had to win that Test match to win the series. And Freddie put his arm round me walking off and sort of, in that nice way that he does, just sort of said, I'm ready to go. I can pass it on. That was an amazing spell. Well done, mate. And, that felt incredible. And it was the next couple of days that made me realise the sort of, what's the right word, what Ashes cricket means to people. I suddenly came down the steps the next day and I'm on the front page of papers. I was like, whoa, what's happened here? Like, why am I signing papers where I'm on the front page, and I think winning that Ashes series lifting that little urn in front of the pavilion at the Oval, with everyone on their feet, everyone cheering, was why that spell makes it into my top 3, because it was me, player of the match in that game, arriving on Test cricket, and actually my teammates going, "Oh, this guy can bowl. This guy can do the job."
Yeah, that's really special. And leading into sort of that, obviously you said 20 odd tests into your career. That's the sort of spell that kick-started everything. Did you have in county cricket before, age group cricket before, this sort of this way of bowling match-winning spell? Did you know you had that in you? Obviously not at that level at that point, but were you that type of bowler, or do you believe that is a type of bowler, a streaky bowler who can bowl incredible spells, obviously in a balanced kind of attack? But had you sort of transferred what you'd done in county cricket and stuff into an England shirt, or did you feel like this is the start of something new? I can be this style of bowler and bowl these type of spells.
Good question. Yeah, I got 7 for 12 against Kimbolton under 15s, which was my best figures for a long time, I think, until Trent Bridge. Yeah. But I knew I could always get decent players out. So when I started playing for Leicestershire as a 18, 19-year-old kid, I remember getting Graham Hick out and thinking, that's Graham Hick. I've watched him my whole career, on teletext, admittedly, but I've watched him, absolute gun of county cricket, played 50 tests for England, and I'd nicked him off with a really good ball, bounced. And I knew that better players brought the best out of me. I knew that when I was bowling at the overseas players in county cricket, or their better players, I just found something more. Just found something that would be a good ball that worked. And maybe the England selectors saw that, because I played 4 or 5 championship games for Leicestershire, and then was on in the England setup, not the team, but training camps, they call it England Lions, the one below the England team, on those sort of camps, suddenly with Alistair Cook. And, so I always had the ability to rise to the bigger occasion, I think. But that was the first time I did it properly on the international scene. It's very different rising to the big occasion in county cricket. I got a big wicket in the T20 Blast final in 2006. Felt amazing. Got Ronnie Irani for naught, which was a huge wicket of the day. But then when you step up to the big stage, it's a very different thing stepping up against the best players at test level, because they just keep coming at you.
At lunch, obviously Nandan Straussy says, Broady, you're going to come on this spell, just want you to go for wickets. Is there a part of you as a bowler that is, I'm sure there's many times where I'm going to make an impact and for whatever reason it doesn't work, but do you get a sense or a feeling, obviously you said an early wicket in that spell and you let go and you just went for it. How do you get that feeling of this is going to be one of those spells? And you've bowled, I think, 12 overs on the spin there. So with Swanee at the other end, no rest. Do you feel like you can bowl forever when you're in that? Sort of tell us a little bit about the feelings that you get or the emotion and how important maybe the captain or your teammates are and the crowd in that kind of situation.
You feel lighter. So you mentioned a 12 over spell. I think my 8-15 was a 9.5 over spell. I feel like I could bowl all day. You don't feel like it's really exhausting you particularly. You've got a brilliant stride pattern. And the older I got, when I was 21, 22, you just grab the ball and go. And I didn't really connect to what was making those spells good. But the older I got, I felt like I got a bit more consistent in delivering against bigger players or at bigger moments, because I could recognize them. And I'd find a way to get my stride pattern nice and short, find a way to engage the crowd, working with the captain of saying, I feel on here, something's clicking, give me a good spell. All my really great spells would have a wicket in the first 3 overs. So the key to it, I would always say, if I haven't got a wicket in my first 3 overs, don't start searching and chasing. Just know, okay, well, this isn't going to be one of those magical spells. Settle in, do my job for the team. Maybe try the odd wicket taking delivery fuller or shorter, but do the job, get off. It might be someone else's day. Maybe bowl 5 overs. If I get a wicket in my first 2 overs, to be to Cookie or Rooty or Stokesy, come on, let me go here. I'm feeling great. This end suits me. New batters, I can expose their weaknesses in the first 10 balls, all that sort of thing. So it's a communication with the captain for sure. It's the teammates being aware that spell is working for you, diving on everything, taking catches, not letting batters get an easy single, getting that sort of flow and rhythm of Test match cricket that keeps the intensity high, keeps pressure on the batters the whole time. The whole team are ready when the new batter walks to the crease, so they don't get time to see what the sight screen's doing, see what the light's doing, settle to the crowd, you're on. And suddenly you're running in before they're even really done their processes and routine. All the tiny little things that you can put pressure on batters with. And to me, definitely the crowd. I look at all my really great spells. Ashes '09, crowd were up and about, roaring, because we had to beat Australia in one game to win the Ashes. 2015, 8 for 15, Trent Bridge, home ground, felt magical. Crowd were with me. They're all on me. So, I was going with that rhythm. Johannesburg, the Bullring Wanderers, Saturday afternoon, you're walking into enemy territory. It's alive. It's bouncing. Barmy Army are then having song battles with the South Africans. The whole crowd is on fire, gives me the energy that I can just keep going. So yeah, there's definitely a connection with that crowd that keeps me in that zone for longer. But I'm not out there going, oh yeah, I'm going to get sixer here. I feel, I've got it on a string. This is what I'm doing. I'm just staying very present with everything. And when we talk about my 3 spells that I class as the top 3, all of them have a consistency, and that is the crowd were as up as me.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting how you mentioned how much of a team effort that is, and people diving around, the energy from your teammates. It's not, obviously you get the rewards and the wickets and the spell, but how much of a team thing that is. And I'm thinking about that from a batter's perspective. Like when you walk into that, it's so high. It's like I sort of imagine it as a tidal wave of energy against you. And obviously the dressing room's a mad scramble, wickets are falling quickly, you're rushing to get your pads on, you're running out there because you don't want to be timed out, and inexperienced players are almost trying to rush quickly if you're a batter, and before you know it, you're running in and facing the first ball, and I'm nowhere near the mental capacity that I need to be to try and defend that ball, leave that ball, make a good decision, work out, do I need to try and ride this spell out, me and my partner try and take some sting out of the game, slow you down, maybe when you run up, pull away and try and upset your rhythm. But on the other end, does that help the bowler more because it's more energy that's then coming against us because we're giving you an edge? Or do I need to counter-attack, but does that look like I'm panicking because I'm just trying to hit my way out of this spell? So what I feel like as a batter is everything is going so fast. Like you've mentioned, you're trying to rush me, you're trying to do that, and I'm trying to think of like who the best players are at sort of throwing a towel over that fire when that spell is happening, and they do seem to push their chest out more, fake that they're in control even if they're not, pull away, slow the game down. Maybe it's someone behind the sight screen that's not even there, but it just try and take the sting out of it, because it just feels like the momentum just gathers. You believe it as a bowler. As a wicketkeeper in a slips, you feel like the ball's going to be coming to you. Every ball's going to be a chance or a wicket-taking delivery. The crowd are expectant, and it's just you as on your own, or your partner feels miles away at the other end and isn't helping you at all. He's just sort of thinking, I'm glad I'm down this end, not down that end.
And on that, I would then say to mid-on or cover point, get in tight. I don't want Joss going, bang, cover point, I'm off strike. I want you feeling that pressure for 10 balls.
Yeah.
So I'd have that convo with mid-on or whoever's in a single saving position. I don't care about 4 right now. If they want to come and drive me through the covers for 4, happy days. Do not give them 1. And I also want you to walk to the crease and I'll put 4 slips in or a short leg. So you think, there's quite a few gaps, but you're not thinking about the gaps right now. You're thinking, cool, they're on the attack.
Yeah.
I make a mistake here. That's going to go to the slips. So it would be a mental shift for me to go, I'm going to really attack with my field because I know that I'm in a rhythm where I can land the ball where I want to land it. So I'm not going to give you an easy out or a short ball that you pull away for 4. I'm going to make you play a forward defence with everyone around you. And if it nips, you're in trouble.
Yeah. I think as well, one line I've heard a bit in Test match cricket is, at times you attack with the ball and defend with the field, or you defend with the field and then attack with the ball. I think for people listening to hear you say, I'm going to bowl wicket-taking deliveries, they'll be thinking, why don't you just do that every ball? Why wouldn't you be trying to get a wicket every ball? So what are the differences then in the lengths or the style or the letting go of economy rate, for example, But when you're saying there, these spells, you're attacking with the ball and you're really attacking with the field.
The art of bowling really is adapting to the pitch and finding out what suits you, what length suits you, what length hits the top of off stump, and looking at the batter down the other end and seeing what they're doing as well. Some might be walking across the stumps more so you can tighten your line up to hit the stumps, or you can go a bit wider to try and find the edge, just sort of adapting to what really is suiting you that day. But I think the beauty of fast bowling, and well, cricket in general, every day is so different. And it is that art of figuring it out for yourself out there. And I always kept quite tight with me. I grew up playing club cricket for Edgerton Park. I didn't have stats and analysts on who was walking out to bat, so I was always aware of that in Test cricket, but I tried to be the one out there with the ball in my hand to figure it out, whether it's Ricky Ponting or Michael Clarke or Steve Smith. Can I figure out how best to get them out that day if they're moving slightly differently or if conditions are slightly different, like I would have done in 2002 for Edgerton Park?
And that communication with your whole bowling group, the captain, all of that is, like I said before, not just your spell, it's everyone. So if Jimmy's at mid-off next to you and then you've got a new batter on strike, he's bowled an over, maybe at the other end, this might be working straight away, try this or that. Does it feel like in these spells, you mentioned put Jonathan Trott at cover and it just goes to him, like these kind of things, a coincidence and they just happen? Or is it, again, that sort of momentum and the belief and that psychology actually of you believe every ball is going to be a wicket, your teammates do, the crowd do, and as a batter you feel like everything's going against me, like I've just got the one bad ball he's bowled in this over, I've clipped straight to square leg, it's another dot ball, the pressure's still on me, there's no release. Does it feel like you could do almost anything at that point and the wickets will come? Or even if you don't get a wicket, you'll get away with it? I
think communication, that point, is huge. If anyone's playing club cricket or any sort of cricket over the week or weekend, whoever you're bowling with at the other end, get at mid-on when you're bowling. When I was growing up, it was that mindset, I think, Caddick and Goff. You'd bowl your over, go down to fine leg. The other bowler would bowl, go down to fine leg. So you'd bowl for an hour together, but not say a word unless you got a wicket and had a chat. What Jimmy and I tried to do is be next to each other the whole time. So each over, we could go, I'm seeing this in your run-up. Have you tried this? Or actually, I think you need to get a bit full of this over because you've been in that length now for 10 balls. Try a bouncer. You thought about the leg cutter. And it's not throwing information every ball because Jimmy would politely tell me, well, probably not that politely tell me where to go. But it's talking, it's sharing information, it's being vulnerable. It's actually saying, I feel awful today. I can't get this right. Can you see anything from your side that I can try? Can we maybe switch ends? Just not feeling that the rhythm's not there. So I would recommend at whatever level, get someone next to you who's bowling at the other end because you can just learn so much live. And ultimately your job as a bowler is to know more about conditions and get the better of the batter at the other end.
Yeah. And ultimately you don't actually have that much time. If you're going to bowl 5 overs, 30 balls, you don't want to waste any of them. So if you can improve that decision making and execution of your skill, then that's going to make you more impactful.
The team effort point is such a big one. Ultimately, you're out there as 11 people trying to get 10 wickets as quickly as you can to get yourself in a better situation in the game. So feedback from everyone's important. But when I say that, I don't mean that means 10 fielders are coming to you the whole time going, try this. What about a Yorker? Try an in-swinger. Try a bouncer. Because that would just cause chaos out there. I think you have key players. The wicket keeper's vital for me. Helps me with alignment. Sees it from probably the best angle on the ground.
So you'd have played a lot of tests with Matt Pryor and good mates. So he is. What sort of things is he saying in between overs to you? Sort of what is he spotting? And you said there's maybe a few key guys there. So he's one. Jimmy, your bowling partner at mid-on. Where do you want the captain in that sense? And what are the golden nuggets that you want to hear? And what is just white noise that the rest of the team are maybe just trying to put the batter off or create something?
I think generally the team would feed back either through the wicketkeeper or the captain.
So that's your communication lines.
That's the communication lines. And then sometimes I've had times where Jimmy might be on the edge of emotion and the captain comes to me and go, I'm seeing this. Can you feed that back to Jimmy? So we'd go down that route. And I'd be the same. Sometimes the captain would go to Jimmy and say, can you feed this back? And this is what we're seeing. But other times, the captain's got a lot going on. Bowling changes, field placements. They need lieutenants out there. And the wicketkeeper generally would be that lieutenant. For me personally, help me with alignment. The batter's leaving you too well from my angle. Thought about getting wider on the crease, or the batter's now taken off stump guard. Think about one ball this over, full straight at the stumps. Backward point, I used to use a lot. So Ollie Pope, back end of my career, would come to me and say, the batter's now a foot out the crease, trying to take the LBW out of it. I've got to then adjust my length, adjust my mindset on DRS, the decision review system, because I need to know if it's going over the stumps or not over the stumps. So it is very much a team game. But also at test match level, you'd hope everyone's got enough awareness of the game not to just fire information the whole time. If we know the plan is bowl fifth stump at Steve Smith, we don't need square leg running in the whole time going, try to leg stump York yet. I think it's worth a go. Because then if I do that, Rooty or Stokes will be like, that's not the plan, like what are you thinking? So yeah, communication channels are important. Jimmy was a natural feedback for me. Wicketkeeper had the best view of alignment and what line I was looking to bowl and how was my energy. So when you were out there keeping to me, I'd want you going, you're a bit down, your body language isn't quite where you need it to be, Broady, because I was a big one on body language, always about chest to the sky, eyes above the horizon. That sort of feedback's crucial. No point telling me at 7 p.m. when the day's done. So that, I think the wicketkeeper's always live in the game. So that sort of information was crucial. And captain was tactical.
Yeah, just on that, I want to say that relationship with Pryor, I don't think it made it into your top three, but the spell at Chesterley Street, I'm sure, did you have a bit of a Barney at tea or a bit of a aggravated conversation? But obviously maybe he knew what he was trying to do to get the best out of you.
Yeah, so it was Ashes 2013, sort of game on the line, really. Fourth innings, the ball had been nipping around all game. 300 was a really good score, and I think the Aussies were chasing around 300, and it got to the stage of being nearly 150 for one. I'd bowled a bit short. I'd been trying to take wickets. Warner was playing really nicely. We'd been really good throughout the whole series at that sort of top of off occasional bouncer, and I think I particularly was trying too much. I think just before tea, bowled a short ball at Warner, and he sort of sliced me over deep point for 4, and we walked off and like, oof, we need to change something here. And we were all aware of that, and Pryor sort of said to the whole bowling group, but because I was the one who was bowling at that time, was, guys, what are we doing here? We've gone away from our plans. We're moping around. We're feeling sorry for ourselves that we're going for 4. We're not actually executing what we should be on this pitch. There's a bit of up and down movement, could be a bit of reverse swing out there. Let's get our body language better. Let's fire up. Like, this is Ashes cricket. What are we doing? I wouldn't say there was a ding dong in the fact that I went back saying, you're wrong, that's a load of rubbish. But I did say, we're trying our best. We're not deliberately bowling bad balls. We're trying to do it. We're maybe just trying a bit too hard. So it's about a 10-minute, which I think all the best teams have those sort of conversations at times, don't they? And then, went out after tea, and I can't remember how. I think I ended up with 5 or 6 in that after tea moment, and we ended up winning the Ashes that spell. I'm not saying it was all because of that tea break, but that feedback's crucial, because if he'd have just kept that inside and just said it the next morning or after a day's play, the situation, the whole scorecard might look different. So I was a big one for that live feedback.
Let's have a little tea break of our own, and then we'll get into number 2, which I think should be a lot of people's number 1, which is the 8 for 15 at Trent Bridge. Here's a question for you. Which teammate would be the first to crack open a cold beer after a Lord's Test win?
Other than you?
Would I be up there?
Jimmy Anderson. Brewdog is now the official beer of Lords. If you're at a test match, the Blast, the 100 or anything else this summer, you'll notice that Brewdog loves cricket as much as we do. That's not just sound effects, that's an actual sound of a cold beer being opened.
It's actually called cold beer.
It is, Jose. It's a 3.4% lager, perfect for the day at the cricket. It's also got a peach variety too, if you fancy trying that one.
And listeners to our podcast can get a free glass.
It's an exclusive offer just for you. If you go to brewdog.com/for the love of cricket.
Tell you what, put the link in our episode description.
Well played, Joss. Yeah, good idea. Hit the link in the episode description. Buy 20 cans and we'll chuck in a free cold beer glass.
You need to use a code though. So at checkout, make sure you use the code FTLOC.
Yep, use the code FTLOC and you'll get a free glass on us.
For the love of cold beer, give it a try in your new cold beer glass.
Right, my second best ever spell, 8 for 15, England, Australia, Trent Bridge, you were keeping. Gosh. Unlucky not to be one, I think. It is unlucky. And
Most people's number one.
When I'm saying that, I do, it should be one, but there was a lot of emotion and drive in my number one. So I think I bowled better in my number one. That's why this is number two. But 8 for 15, regaining the Ashes at Trent Bridge for the first ever time, home ground, all my family and friends there. Incredible day, but a lot went into that. You know, I think I look back at that. Jimmy had a side strain at Edgbaston, the Test match before, and was unavailable for this Test match. It was a back-to-back Test match, so I was going to bowl the first ball of a Test match for the first ever time. I'd never done it. I think I'd played sort of 80, 90 Test matches at this time. I'd never had that pressure of that first ball running in, crowd expecting. So that was in my mind for sure. Nasser Hussain had done a column the day before, sort of aligning to the fact pressure on Broad, all on Broad, you know, no Anderson, no leader. That could be England's problem type thing. And you try not to read up. I remember playing golf the day before, but aware that had come out. And I actually remember walking onto the field, seeing Nasser working for Sky, sort of smiling at him, and he smiled back, you know, that sort of thing. And not many people, or maybe people know, I actually thought we should have batted first. Which
unbelievable. When you see the state of that wicket and you typical bowler going, no, he says bat first.
So when it's your home Test match, the captain always comes to you and goes, what are you thinking of the pitch? You played here a lot. What do you think? And I was a big believer at Trent Bridge. If there was a bit of moisture in the surface, you bat because it seems slowly day one. Then the sun hits it, it hardens up and it speeds up and seems quickly, which is more nickable day two. That was my theory. And I would like to say the stats back that up. I would like to say that. So I said to Cookie, do you know what? Bit of grass on the pitch, but I think it's a bat first. So he sort of nodded at me. And I went to mark my run-up out, as I always did, before the toss. And I was put a straight line with a number 8 on. And Shane Warne's walking up to me like he did every morning, loads of energy. Hey, Broady, yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, he's that's a bowl first, isn't it? I thought, ooh, Shane Warne's saying that. He's bat first 99% of the time. Have I got this wrong? So I sort of finished my run up, walked over to Cookie. Chef, rethought it, you know. It might be a bowl first, you know. He goes, yeah, don't worry. I've already made that decision. I thought, okay, cool. So knew we were going to bowl if we won the toss. Chef won the toss, we're having a bowl. And there's that feeling. I find the toss such a unique, weird experience because that's why I like to watch every single one live. I was never warming up when the toss of the coin went up. I was always just watching it. And you're either going to be under the most pressure you're going to be in your career every day, running in to bowl the first ball of a Test match, Ashes, cricket, series on the line, or you're going to go make a cup of tea, sit down and watch the batters go out. So it's a complete opposite end of the spectrum of what happens with a 50-50 toss of the coin. So we're going to have a bowl and your stomach sort of goes a bit. It's like, oh, God, my day. That's on me then. I've got to set the tone. And Trevor Bayliss, our coach, had made a big play that week of setting the tone, whether you're the batter or the bowler, getting into the game, setting the tone for the team. So I walk off, get my kit on, and I walk back out. And a couple of things happened that just, I'd say, lifted my emotion in a way, or something was looking after me in some way. So Clive Rice had passed away, and we did a minute's silence before the start of play. Clive had played a lot with my dad. Families were very close. I didn't know loads about him, but had a few phone calls with him. But the Notts crowd, big overseas player for Nottinghamshire, Notts crowd, full of emotion. That clap at the end for him, I was like, wow, like that feels a real connection between Nottinghamshire and cricket. Then there was a sprinkle of rain, which no one ever talks about. Where
Can't even remember that.
Yeah, you look. We started it at like 11:04. Sprinkle of rain, but not enough for the covers to come out. So just gave the pitch a lovely sheen. So we get out and I bowl the first ball. Obviously a bit nervous, setting the tone, and slipped because of that bit of rain. So I get some sawdust, and Alim Dar, I think, as the umpire said, I think that was really close to being a no ball. So be careful. So that what sort of was the first thing that came into my mind. Okay, like need to get my feet right here. Ran in the next ball. I think it was a leg by for 4. And again, felt horrible. Foot slipped. It's like, come on, I need to settle here. Alim again, close to the line, bring it back. Next ball, Rogers, snick. Can't remember it went Cookie or Rooty. You might remember.
Should do.
Yeah.
Not
Should
me.
you have gone for it? Caught, out. My first, and when I watched this back, my first thought, I hope that's not a no-ball.
You turn around straight
So
away.
I turned straight to Alim Dar and looked at him, and he was sort of looking at it, walking over to it. I'm like, oh my God. And he said, out. So, so it's such a weird first reaction, but just because my first couple of balls I hadn't settled, and then in, got a wicket. It was actually my 300th Test wicket, which I hadn't really thought about. That wasn't.
I find that quite interesting because you say leading into that day, that could well have been, that's a huge milestone for Test cricket to be actually one of, as soon as that toss goes, this could be the day I get my 300th Test wicket for England.
Yeah, other priorities were higher. Getting into the game, setting the tone, bowling first, home ground, Trent Bridge, the emotion of that. So it hadn't really crossed my mind. Other occasions had. When I had got my 100th, I remember that day, I was like, oh God, I'm desperate to get 100 Test wickets. But this hadn't really. So Chris Rogers had gone for a duck, I think his first nought in Test cricket. Okay, I'm away. I'm in. Then Steve Smith came out, got a 2. And again, so I bowled around the wicket to Rogers, slipped a bit, got the sawdust down. I'm now over the wicket to the right-handed Smith, slip again. I'm like, sawdust, scratch it up, like try and get some moisture out of this foothole. He hit me for a 2. Then I overpitched and he whacked me through the covers for 4. So I'm now 5 balls in. It's 10 for 1, which is a really unusual scoreboard. But I look back, I clapped him, and I remember feeling like, okay, that's a really good shot for me, because I knew there was a bit of seam movement. I knew his energy's going because he's played a massive drive. And at Trent Bridge, what's one of the number 1 rules is don't drive for your first 20 balls or so. So I clapped him, sort of said like, shot Smithy, like, good for me, good for me. Walked back really buoyed by it, although I'd gone for 4. Next ball just seemed that beautiful half bat width, back foot, nick, grabbed it, I think Ian Bell at the 3rd slip maybe, and we're away. 10 for 2, crowd are up, for 2 wickets in the first over of a crucial Test match. Yes, I've gone for 10, but I'm away. The team are away. But the biggest moment of that whole day was the next ball. Mark Wood ran in swinger to David Warner, little feather. I think through to you?
Yeah, straight to me.
Did you know immediately?
Yeah.
Side edge. So bang, 3 for. 3 for after 7 balls. Woody's in the action. Everyone's in a bit of that state of, what the hell is going on here? What's happening? Crowd are still sort of just stirring their coffees, sitting down. And then 3 down, the crowd are then in. They're engaged, they're on. And that's when the motion came.
Yeah, it's incredible, really. There's actually some of the stuff that you're saying that I'm there and I can't quite remember. But now you're saying I instantly remember that turn back. And obviously for the whole team, it's quite an unusual reaction with the bowler. So you're like, oh my God, I hope that's out. And then for Smith being such a big player in their side, huge 100, double 100, didn't he get at Lords? Yeah. So that wicket, and they're those times, aren't they? And there's only, maybe you could count them on one hand where these kind of things happen in a game. And I was having that realization of like, this is one of those moments. They're 10 for 3 in the biggest Test match at the biggest, most important time. If we win this Test match, we win the Ashes series. And you're sort of in disbelief that this is one of those times where the wickets are tumbling. There's delirium of everyone running around. Like you say, the crowd are scrambling. They can't, barely taking the seat. And it's like, oh my God, have you seen the score? Everyone's that. And you can imagine, as we've talked about earlier, the Australian dressing room is, like say some guys batting number 5, be like, oh, this would be nice. I'll sit down for a bit and watch. And then suddenly scrambling around, pads on, out the dressing room door, someone's coming in, effing and blinding because they just got out. It's carnage, isn't it? And that tidal wave of energy, like I said, is just all with us. But do you feel the pressure then when it's happening to keep that? Or is that sort of this is brilliant, we've got it, let's just run with it?
This is brilliant, let's run with it. I'm conscious I don't want to just go, and then Sean Marsh came in and nipped it away. But Marsh came in for his first test of the series and got a goodie nipped away. And when you get pitches that aren't jagging everywhere, they're doing half a bat width, that is perfect, because batters are playing.
It felt like no one played and missed.
No one played and missed. Yeah. It was like a nick or the middle of the bat, really. So probably the most famous ball or moment of that was when Stokesy took the best catch I've seen live from 22 yards. Voges, bit fuller, big drive, and Stokesy just threw out this right hand at fourth slip, and it stuck. It went so fast. It was incredible. And then I pulled this sort of daft, like, unbelievable amazed face.
Home Alone, wasn't it?
Home Alone. And it was just genuine amazement. It happened in the blink of an eye. His reactions were incredible. And I sort of knew then, wow, we're onto something here. Look at every great spell or moment where teams get bowled out cheap. There's always a great catch in there or a run out. And Stokesy taking that, I think everyone on the field was just charging with emotion then. It was I remember Moeen Ali sprinting around from fine leg, running. And there was a brilliant moment where Stokesy has caught it and Johnny Bairstow's at short leg and Stokesy's running off like, how young does he look? He's like baby face, charging with amazement. And Johnny goes to give him a high five. Stokesy doesn't see him and tramples over him like an inside centre on an inside centre. And he just runs over him. Johnny falls backwards and just is on the floor. Yeah. And I remember chasing Stokesy and running past Johnny like, what's he doing?
No one bother with Johnny.
Why is he on the floor? Sorry, Johnny, I'm going to get Stokesy here. And that was definitely a moment of, we're flying as a team here. Everyone was smiling. Everyone's sensing something special. To be honest, even if they go and get 200 here, we're in a great position. So that was definitely a moment where I thought, oof, this is awesome.
No way. And the thing with those spells is, like you say, they could go on and get 200, but it just continued. You always think at some point there'll be a partnership or someone will play, someone will be able to push back and sort of build something, but it just never came. Like you say, there was never really a play and miss. I just think from a wicket keeper's perspective as well, that first morning of a test match, you sort of want to feel the ball in your hands a bit and get into the rhythm. You almost don't mind if someone's leaving the ball a bit.
You're going to say you want to get into it and all I was doing is hitting the middle of the bat.
But it's just like, I've got my own nerves, but it's just in one over, it dissipates and you're like, this is it. This is the moment. Everything is going our way. And you've bowled a few spells like that by that time. You mentioned number 3 is back in 2009. I think you've had a couple of. Again, are you just so in the moment that that's never part of it, or you like? Because I feel like as a keeper and the slips at that point, we're like Broady's on. This is one of his spells. That was always something we talked about. I would say as a keeper and slips, whether you came on and it was like, oh, I hope this is one of his spells, or you get a wicket and it's almost like you're nudging each other, like this is going to be something special. Can't wait to see the next half an hour, 45 minutes unfold.
There was definitely something unique in that spell because when Stokesy took that great catch, we had all that moment of, that was incredible. It comes on the big screen and the crowd see it again. And then you hear them go, whoa, and we're all high-fiving again. And Voges is out. I think Neville comes in at 7. Is that 5 down already? Maybe, yeah, it would be. And I got back to the end of my mark and I had something that happens on the odd occasion in fast bowling, but not necessarily in a spell where you're bowling brilliantly. I stood at the end of my mark. My mind had been dragged everywhere, new batters coming in, emotion, home ground. And I stood there and I could not, for the life of me, think, do I set off with my right or left foot? For the life of me. And that sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, but I always had my mark with the straight line, number 8. And I always used to hit it with my right foot. But I'm stood there, middle, like the batter's now waiting for me, put the ball in my hand. I'm going, I don't know which foot hits that mark. And I set off and I got it wrong. My strike pattern was going, I got the ball down. And actually, if I watch that spell back, there's a few I lobbed down the leg side to you now and you're scrambling and my strike pattern had completely gone. And
It's as simple as you set off with the left instead of the right.
well, yeah, I just could not figure it out for that ball. And when my mind started thinking about silly things or had been distracted and not able to focus on just what is, it's a habit, it's a rhythm, it's something I've done 20,000 times by then. I sing a song because then my mind focuses on the song and I'm away from thinking, is this left or right foot on a line?
You're going to break out into song here.
Not going to break out into song, but I always sung Mambo Number 5 because it reminded me of cricket as a kid. Channel 4 highlights, and it was that rhythm of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'd get to the end of my mark.
We got a little bit out of you.
I'd get to the end of my mark, and I'd sing it, Lou Bega. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, everybody. And by the time I'd sung that 1, 2, I'm into my run up and flow. So it took me 3 or 4 balls to figure out my stride pattern again, and then by the end of that, Michael Clarke had edged one to slip. And I was quite happy with that wicket, although it was a really bad ball. We'd played the whole deep square leg go out, fine leg move finer, signal and wave at everyone that you're going to bowl a short ball. And the plan was to bowl an away swinger full. And I got it way too wide. And he nicked it, and Cookie had all the time in the world. All the time in the world, high, caught. And a couple of things happened in that moment. Clarke made eye contact with him, and he gave me one of those like, and my immediate thought, having played loads against him, brilliant batter, great competitor actually, I thought, he's done it. He's finished. He's retiring. I just knew. It was a weird feeling, like just that eye contact and blow through the mouth of like. Yes, it was a bad ball. Yes, he shouldn't have nicked it. But there was just something in his energy that made me think.
And as the opposition captain,
yeah,
and when all that's going on around you as well,
yeah. And then we got together, and I hadn't even thought about that being a fifer. You're just thinking about plans and moving on. I looked up at the big screen; it was like 5 for 6. I was like, well, "What? What's happened here?" Like, wow.
Yeah.
And that was my first realization of something really special happening. 5 for 6, you never get. That's just completely unusual. And that was lifting up the crowd, lifting the ball to the crowd, signaling around my home crowd. They were all up and about. That was a really special moment.
That's incredible. Family, everyone. That you just like. Yeah. What I think listening to you there's some of the amazing things that are going through your head in the midst of, the best spell, obviously number 2 in this little lineup. But I kind of imagine you're just in this flow state, this zone where you're almost like blinkers on and you're not really aware of stuff. But you've mentioned singing a song on your run up, the slipping, as you've ran past Clarke, the realization that he's feels defeated or is going to throw the towel in at the end of the sit. That is quite fascinating, I think, for people to hear what thoughts are actually going on in and amongst one of the best ever performances in an England shirt. You kind of think, oh, he must just be so focused about every single thing. But how do you also manage that energy and the emotion? Are you trying to sometimes not let it get too out of control and come down, or where do you go? Broady, switch back on here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's such a great point because I think I'd bowled 4.5 overs maybe for the 5 for, and then the next wicket came. Mitchell Johnson nicked one to slip, and my overriding feeling then was relief because things hadn't happened for 3 overs, hadn't taken a wicket.
It's a long time.
So you were going like wicket, 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 and then you're like, okay, well I should be taking wickets here, and Johnson was leaving and blocking, leave, block, and then he nicked one, and when I've seen it back, because the look on my face is exactly how I felt. Like, oh my God, thank goodness for that. Like, why has that taken so long? Which is remarkable because normally it takes you on average 9-10 overs per wicket in Test match cricket. So the fact it was 2.5 or something, and I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling annoyed, lacking patience. Why is this not happening? And he nicked it, and I remember being like, oh, whew, God, about time. And then Stark followed quite quickly after that. And we're back on sort of looking up.
As a bowler, though, when you get to 5 wickets, a bit like a batter getting to 100 and you kind of think, oh, I've done it now. Do you get that when you get 5? Or because obviously it's a lot of wickets and other people are bowling, so maybe it's harder to take more. But do you ever get a sense of relief? Oh, I've got 5 now. That's me done.
No.
No.
It's walking off the field. It's that 10th. You don't care who gets the wickets. It's walking off the pitch, knowing that little period's done. You get your boots off and rest and recover. So, yeah, I got those 2 lefties, Johnson and Stark, and then I remember looking up at the big screen. It said something like 7 for 11, and again that was outrageous. A realization of, ooh, okay, well I've not been here since school, and now it's the Ashes.
Just remind us your school figures.
7 for 12. Still got the ball actually. 7 for 12 for. I'm sure it was under 15s, might have been under 12s. So yeah, that was a realization. I remember thinking,
I can beat my best ever figures.
I've definitely not been here since school. And then Nathan Lyon, I'm bowling at him, and again you're feeling that pressure a little bit of you got to get him out every ball. And he nicked me for 4 through the gap. He'll say guided it through the gap. We went for 4, and that was the most frustrating 4 I've ever gone for. Because now I'm a bit like, I want something special here. And a 4 out of 11 to take me to 15, a 4 feels a lot of runs. So I was like, wow, how have you picked that gap? That's ridiculous. I've got fielders everywhere and you've picked that gap. And I think the key to actually taking wickets that day, because we had the pressure, because it was moving around, and we got on a bit of a run early, 3 in the first 7 balls, we had 5 slips. So any mistake they made went to a fielder, which crucial. If we'd have just had 2 in a gully, they're not going to hand. So we were, as a captain, Cookie, we went all in. It's like we're having fielders everywhere. And then Lyon went for 4, 7 for 15, and the next ball just bounced a bit, boom, looped up to Stokesy. And I remember just like, it was like punching the air almost, like, yes, like done, they're done. Let's get batting. And sort of walked off. Stokesy ran straight to me, gave me the ball. We walked off raising the ball, but you're not really taking that in, are you? It's like when you're celebrating 100, you're sort of going, cool, great, but like not really soaking it in. I got back to the changing room. Trev Bayliss, as well as anyone, not the most, what's the right word? Emotional sort of character, is he? He sort of didn't run over to me and be like, oh, brilliant, well bowled. I don't think he even said well bowled, actually. I don't think I even saw him. But, that was a great strength of his as well, because he never let the team get too high or too low. But I sat back in my spot. Cookie and Lythy were getting their kit on, so I just sat back, allowed them to do that. And they went out, and there was a moment, I just made a cup of tea, just taking my whites off, and Lythy, I think, drove Mitchell Stark through the covers before, crunched it. And from my change room spot at Trent Bridge, I could see the clock on the Radcliffe Road end, and it said 20 to 1 or quarter to 1. First ball we'd seen really like nailed through the covers all day. Sun was just creeping through. And that was a moment of, wow, we've bowled already. And we're sat in the changing room pre-lunch, having bowled Australia out. Like that was a moment of realization. I think you came and sat next to me, like tapped me on the leg. A bit like, I've dreamt of winning the Ashes my whole life, and I feel like we might have just done it, type thing.
Yeah, and I think, though, that realisation, they say it's just disbelief, isn't it? And that series, for me, is actually quite bittersweet. It's winning an Ashes series, but my own performances were really poor. And I felt like a little bit of a passenger at certain times in that series. But obviously, it's an absolute dream to win the Ashes and know that was going to happen. You don't really get that day one of a test match at lunchtime to go, I think we've just won the Ashes, by your spell, by seeing the openers come out and get away a little bit, I'm sure. And I remember at the end of the day, it was like Joe Root had scored 100, and you just like, this is the most disbelieving day of cricket that I've ever seen. And especially, there's always that element, I think, of we've just bowled them out for 60. What is this wicket that bad?
We get 50.
That we might only get 100, and then but to go on, Joe Root be on 100 himself by the end of the day. It's just like, and where at the end of that day, obviously there must, you've done so much press, so much. Did you ever have a quiet moment, or I know you like a glass of red wine? Did you go back home and sort of let it sink in? I know that probably doesn't happen immediately, but did you have a moment to yourself where you just sort of like,
yeah, I did actually. So I did go home because playing at Trent Bridge, living in Nottingham, I went back to my house. I think as international cricketers, when you get the chance to stay at home, you do. So the Trent Bridge Test, I always stayed at home. So I sat at home just, I think, cooking a bit of food. And my doorbell went. I think reaction like everyone does whenever the doorbell goes, who the hell's that? So it was my dad. My dad, he was holding a bottle of wine. And he said, well, I know you don't drink during test matches, but if there's ever a time, we've got to share a glass tonight, haven't we? Which was so special. In he came. I had a glass. He finished the bottle, I think. And that was great to almost unwind from the day a bit. Because he'd watched it from the crowd. Or like, could you believe that? When that happened? Could you? And I was still in that daze of, no, I can't really believe that this has happened. You know, even now, 10 years on, coming up to 10 years on, which is petrifying in itself. When I see that scoreboard, 60 all out, Australia, home ground, Trent Bridge, 8:15 to my name, still doesn't look real. Still doesn't look real to me. And that's, I've heard a couple of things that really make me smile. That moment of my dad coming over, definitely the moment of regaining the Ashes at Trent Bridge. And we were driving to the ground that morning, day 3, going, no one's going to come. You know, surely no one's going to come, but we're going to win and there'll be like 10 people there. And Trent Bridge for an hour's cricket that morning was packed to the rafters. And that was one of my favourite days because we all just signed, had pictures around the ground, felt like just a festival, like a party. And I've also heard Darren Lehmann on a Q&A, Australia head coach, get asked, could he have done, or what was he feeling in the changing room at that time? Could he have done anything different? And he described it that he was like the guy in the RAF stood in the plane by the parachute when it opens the door, and he's got the little red light, and all the parachutists are lined up with the parachutes on tied to it. And he was just going, go, go, go. And I can sort of picture that. You know, there wasn't time to calm down or settle or go, what were the conditions doing? It was that scramble. Batters would be getting the pads on, out they go. So it all happened in an hour and 20. It was, yeah. But actually, now I've said it, that probably should be number 1. Laithwaites are proud partners for the love of cricket.
Official wine partners.
That's the one. They love cricket, so do we. So they're on board.
You've got your own collection with Laithwaites.
Beyond the Wicket, series of wines by Stuart Broad, even a nice little signature there. But it's been a real passion project for me. Wines from all over the cricketing world. Great memories of playing cricket in these places. And that's where this collection came from, really. Just the memories of that, putting them into bottles of wine. And you like the old glass of wine, don't you?
Yeah, I like a glass of wine.
Should I keep holding
the Stuart Broad wine. Good food, good company. It's always nice to spend time with family and friends and a good bottle of wine.
And Beyond the Wicket isn't the only case you can buy. We've put together our own case for the love of cricket. It's going to be 3 whites for your love of white ball cricket, Jose, and 3 reds for my love of test match cricket. Available exclusively from laithwaites.co.uk.
So pour yourself a glass.
Settle in and join us for the love of cricket and a good bottle of wine with Laithwaites.
Right, so we've just heard all about what is really number 1. But you've got your number 1 as South Africa away, 5 for 14 at Joburg. Tell us, for the people who just cannot understand why, how can that sit higher than the 8 for 15?
Is that what it was, 5 for 14?
That's what I've got. Maybe in the actual spell.
In the spell. Good
Maybe
shout.
not your actual figures, but
yeah,
in the spell. The actual spell, 10 overs, 5 for 14, 6 majors. I think there's 1 point in that from your first, there you go, first to your 5th wicket was 31 balls at the cost of just 1 run.
So 5 for 1.
5 for 1 in that little spell. And the 1 run, I wasn't playing, I was 12th man. Thankfully, this wasn't me, was thanks to a drop catch.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I remember that drop catch. You dropped that?
Don't know, don't need to name. There's a couple of good ones in there. How does this sit above the Ashes Trent Bridge 2015?
So I rank this as number 1 just for the amount of wicket-taking balls I bowled and the momentum changer in the game away from home.
Yeah, just set the scene, the sort of the scoreboard.
I think it's in the series we've got to win this test match to win the series. We'd bowled first at the Wanderers, one of those pitches that as a tall fast bowler, a bit of a dream, carries through, bit of seam movement, but if you get it wrong you can disappear. And South Africa set a decent total, can't remember exactly, but it was around sort of 250, 300. I bowled like an absolute drain. first innings. I wasn't very well, actually. I've been not very well, so the heat was getting to me. I was having to run off and be a bit sick. I just felt awful, and the guys really held it together. Our bowling unit held it together and covered me that first innings. And then we went out to bat, and Rooty got a brilliant 100. Like, I feel like that's the most said thing in English cricket, isn't it? But to get us up and level, I think we were virtually exactly level at the halfway stage. Innings one from England and South Africa. So coming out to bowl, that's a great feeling because you can break the game open. But also there's some added pressure on that because if they go and get 340, it's unlikely you're going to chase that. So you need to take wickets. It was a Saturday lunchtime at the Wanderers, the Bullring. I class that as their spiritual home. You walk from the changing room down to the pitch in this like shell, almost like a plastic shell, and all the kids whack on it and back, so it's really loud. It feels quite aggressive, and it was packed full of South Africans and the Barmy Army. So there was a great atmosphere going on, and I got the ball, and I felt good immediately. Coming from how badly I felt the first innings, or how bad I felt, my stride pattern felt good. I was getting the ball to carry through. And like in a lot of my decent spells, get a wicket early, and it was a nick off, and I'm running off like, I knew that meant something, so I'm running off, celebrating everyone. And I remember the whole team almost chased me, like followed me, which gave me a great energy, a great feeling, a bit like, okay, the team know the game's on the line here. And the wicket I remember the most actually is AB de Villiers, obviously one of South Africa's greatest ever players. And I ran in and bowled, and it was back of a length, nip back, and he's inside edged it through to the keeper, which must have been Bairstow if you weren't playing. And I didn't see the edge, hear the edge, nothing. So I just thought it was a ball that beat him on the inside. And Johnny threw the ball up in the air as keepers do and started running off to find leg. So I was like, oh, how's that? Umpire, finger, de Villiers gone for naught. I had no clue that he'd edged it. So that was a big momentum change in the whole game. Suddenly you felt the crowd almost gasp. Best player's gone for naught. What, they 2 or 3 down? Okay, let's go England. And I felt almost a bit, okay, luck's on my side a bit. If I've not really noticed that was a wicket, definitely seeming around. And then Hashim Amla, one of the best players I ever bowled at, hated bowling at him. So patient and clinical with putting away a bad ball. Not on this day. Bowled a rank leg stump half volley. He's like middled it. That I just thought, that's 4. Almost just turned around. And James Taylor took the best short leg catch I've ever seen. Just stuck out a hand, bang, middle of his hand. Hashim Amla, disbelief. I obviously celebrating. The whole team are celebrating. And we got South Africa on the edge a little bit. And we just blew them away. I don't know exactly what we bowled them out for, but it was certainly not much more than 100. And it was just one of those days. I put it as the best because away from home, series on the line, crowd was bouncing. But also one of the only times where I bowled on a pitch where I got the most out, a bit more out of it than any other bowler, if that makes sense. So I felt I was doing the damage and the other bowlers were just holding for a bit. Normally on every surface, a bowler will come in and go, oh, yeah, you're right, it's nipping this way, it's nipping that way. The other guys were a bit like, cool, it feels quite flat at my end. I'm just going to hold. And I said, well, I'm feeling a great rhythm. Let me go. I'll try and be really ultra aggressive. And I always look at the Wanderers as a pitch that suited me. Tall, could whack it into the pitch. And definitely that day, like the 8 for 15, I said, the biggest wicket that day was Mark Wood getting Warner first ball. I felt like I bowled South Africa out that day. I hate that sort of word on my own, obviously not my own, but I felt like I grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and said, come with me, lads. I'm going to get this job done. I'm going to charge in, bowl wicket-taking deliveries. It's my day. Yes, a bit of luck along the way. I tried to bowl a bouncer to Temba Bavuma, and he ducked it, but ducked into it, hit his glove, hit the stump, everything going my way. So I put that as number 1 just because of the emotion attached to it. And actually, we won the test match. I got player of the match. I think I got 6 for in that. And that took me to number 1 in the world. The first time I'd been number 1 in the world as a fast bowler. I don't think I stayed there overly long, a couple of months, but that felt like a bit of an achievement because ultimately for me to get to number 1, I had to get ahead of Dale Steyn, Jimmy Anderson. Like very rarely have the ability to do that. Staines been, like, I think, number one for the most amount of time in my whole career. So that was a bit of a moment in my career of, wow, I'm the number one Test bowler in the world. Like, that's pretty special for me. And off the back of a Test match win that I'd bowled a spell that won the game was that's why it's number one.
Yeah, and I really like that in the sense that you're aware of that being number one and that sense of achievement, and obviously doing that from a brilliant spell of bowling, because sometimes as cricketers, and maybe it's an English trait, that we sort of want to talk ourselves down and don't want to, you're aware of all these records. Like when a batter says, I was only 2 more runs, I got out for 98, it doesn't matter that much. It is 2 runs, but it would be awesome to score 100, or it would be awesome to achieve number one or score X amount of runs. I do think, even though it isn't the be all and end all, people are aware of it. And it, like you say, that sense of achievement, when you look at the list of players, you must be, and the 2 guys you mentioned there, Steyn and Anderson, to go, I'm in their company. And the way other people are now looking at me as, the top dog, I think that's a brilliant thing to admit. It's fine that is a driver of performance, and it comes, I think that's that link, it comes from great spells, doing great things for the team, whether that's with the bat or with the ball, and you can achieve some awesome individual things as well. Just when you are overseas, I always think about how good the Barmy Army are, and obviously we get so well supported in England, but they travel unbelievably well, especially in South Africa when there's 24 rand to the pound and drinks are flowing. But just say how important, I always think the trumpet, the songs, he's big, he's bad, he's better than his dad, that kind of stuff. Do you feel that more, this is the only overseas spell in these ones? So is that a different vibe? Does that give you more, again, like going away from home at their crucial place, with that connection that you always have with the supporters?
Barmy Army, incredible. All England fans that travel, it's a community, it's a feeling. You see the same faces in all the Test matches that you play. The song Jerusalem that they sing, that first over of a game, you can see them all doing the bow and arrow. It's really special for us to connect with that as players, and you'll always see people like Rooty clapping at the end of that song. But for me, the energy that they bring, yeah, you're right. When they start singing, I think it was, he's big, he's bad, he's better than his dad, Stuart Broad. It was, that would always bring a great energy to it. Connecting on why I only had one of those spells abroad, with the other fifers in a spell were all in England. I think that was maybe in England, the whole ground go with you. When you're abroad, the Barmy are a certain part of that crowd, but you definitely feel like you're on enemy territory. So maybe there was a flow of that, and there was definitely countries where the pitches and grounds didn't suit me as much as England and South Africa did. So there's definitely part of that, but the connection that England cricket have with their fans, turning up at Test match grounds all over the world, we feel supported, we feel backed. Even when we've lost 3-4-0, how they speak to us is pretty incredible. They're not ever, you're rubbish, you're hopeless, I get you wasted all our time. They're always backers all the way through, and that's very rare in sport, isn't it? And you definitely feel that brilliant connection. But that South Africa, Johannesburg, Cape Town, those sort of places where the beers are 50p. Where you're right, that 24 rand to the pound, you remember that because they sang from
song,
1 to 24, didn't they? It'd be like 1 rand to the 2 rand to all the way through, and we'd hear that for an hour, and then that lovely moment when the trumpet goes, and that, whether it be Rooty as captain, Joe Roots, Barmy Army, Joe.
Do you ever think when you're as a bowler and they, and they get this, the game's gone a bit flat, and the Barmy Army, he pipes up, it's time for a Barmy Army wicket, and they start the everywhere we go chant. Have you ever had a time where you're sort of like, I want to go with them here, get me, like, to the captain, give me the ball, the crowd want a wicket, they're trying their best to instigate something, I'm going to be part of that or go with that, and sort of, where does the spells sometimes you lead that you make it happen, or you sense the game needs it and you want to step up to do that?
There's definitely times where that's happened. without a doubt. Durban in South Africa, I remember a couple of test matches there that we won, where the Barmy Army really felt like we needed something to happen. If it's been baking hot through the day and you get to near tea, they can just see you might be a bit low on energy. They lift and you go, okay, it's my time to lift as well. You rely on that crowd. Well, I relied on that crowd quite a bit. It's just more difficult abroad to make things happen quicker than it is in England, because you're playing against the home team. When we're away, you're obviously playing against a home team that played in those conditions their whole life. When you drag them to Lords or the Oval or England, you're playing against our conditions, so we can exploit them quicker. So it's difficult to make things happen as quickly abroad. And that's why when I look at the Wanderers, it was the pitch that suited me the most in South Africa, that I was able to strike. And I think a lot of test match cricket, international cricket, players can't do it every day because the standard's too high. But the best players in the world find their conditions that really suit them and go, this is my day. This is the day I can make it count. And you see that Alistair Cook springs to mind. He'd get 240 in Abu Dhabi, like bang, there, yeah. He's got a 240. Away we go, or 290 at Edgbaston. Pitch suited him down to the ground. He never missed out in conditions that suited him. So, yeah, I think the Wanderers was a great connection to me of games on the line. I like changing momentums in games. That's what I judge myself on. But conditions suit. Let's go.
Broady, I've absolutely loved that episode. It's been great to get so many insights from the man himself on all those spells. I felt very privileged to have best seat of the house for the 8 for 15. And that is For the Love of Cricket, another episode in the bag.
Thanks to our partners, Sage and Laithwaite. If you've got a question, there's a link in the episode description.
And don't forget to follow at Love of Cricket Pod on Instagram and TikTok.
Hit the follow button if you're watching on Spotify. Don't forget the YouTube. Like, subscribe, and see you soon.